Welcome once again to another podcast where we're finding out all kinds of things as it turns out. And today I'm very pleased to be joined by Dr. Angela Kerrigan. Now, Angela is a consultant midwife at the Wirral University Teaching Hospital, and she is here today to tell us, obviously, views on International Women's Day, but also to be talking to us about her part in the Maternity Health Justice Partnership. Thank you very much indeed for coming in, Angela.
Thank you.
Well, first of all, before we get to all of these big juicy subjects that we're going to pick up on, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you ended up in midwifery, as it were.
So I have been a midwife for 22 years now, almost, and went straight into midwifery from school. It felt like it was the right vocation for me.
That was always your career choice. That's what
it was from about 15, I'd say. Yes. Studied to be a midwife in Birmingham and then moved back. I am from the Northwest, moved back to the Northwest in 2004 and I've been here ever since.
I would imagine in that period of time, the whole subject of midwifery has changed quite a bit, a lot of different kind of approaches.
Very different approaches to care, very different population that we're caring for, very different level of complexities of those populations. It's a really exciting profession to be in. It's really rewarding profession to be in. It's very hard. It's very hard work, but it's one that I love, and there's nothing else that I would even think about doing. I kind of understand that, because on the one hand you'd be thinking, well, how can midwifery have changed? The kind of basics would be the same, but of course it's not, because there's much more to it now, isn't there? There is. The basics are the same. Pregnancy is the same essentially, and birth, but it's more viewed the holistic side of women and birthing people. It's about viewing families as the heart of the care that we give. The complexities. We've discovered a lot about different medical disorders, different social impact on pregnancy and outcomes of newborn babies as well. And it's having to pull all that together to make sure that we are have safety at the core of what we do.
And it still holds that same level of excitement that it had 20 odd years ago for you. Wow. Now, let's have a look at this, what sounds like a very interesting thing here. The Wirral, the first ever, you participated in this, of course, the first ever NHS-funded health justice scheme. What is that? What is that about?
So this is a collaboration between the NHS and Maternity Action, which is provided a legal advice helpline for women who needed legal advice during pregnancy. It was funded by the Cheshire and Mersey LMNS, and it was piloted on Wirral. So we did it at Wirral University Teaching Hospital. We were the pilot site for that for the first 12 months of that, and that meant that we were able to offer women a dedicated legal advice line for any issues that they may have had. So that was to do with maternity leave, maternity pay, employment rights, housing to some degree. Women go through a huge change during pregnancy and new motherhood, and it's expensive. It impacts massively on their work and their employment or their unemployment. Women don't often know how to get advice on that. Usually we would signpost to Citizens Advice Bureau, and we still do that. But this partnership really allowed us to have a really good service to be able to signpost women to, that was going to give expert, dedicated advice.
Right, and there's obvious benefits for that. How has the scheme been received so far? It's been well received.
It has been well received. Women are contacting the advice line. It's done confidentially, and they're given support and advice that's tailored to them. It's hugely beneficial for women. So women who don't have the confidence to challenge their employer, or they don't know what they're entitled to, they seek advice from that line, and they get more confident, they get the right advice, and they know that they're then empowered then to go back and have those conversations. Midwives aren't experts in everything. They're certainly not experts in maternity rights and employment rights when it comes to childbearing times. And it's really given midwives a really good service to be able to signpost to. It's given midwives the confidence that they know that women are getting the right advice, and they can pick up those conversations again when they see women later on in pregnancy. How did you get on? Is there anything else I can support you with? It frees up midwives' times to do what we should be doing, caring for women. It's hugely challenging, the amount of information that we have to give to women. And if we know that we don't necessarily have to be experts in that field and we can signpost to the actual experts, it's hugely beneficial in that respect.
I mean, when you talk about caring for people, you can talk about the physical care of these things, but it's this psychological and mental well-being aspect of it that is, as I say, that's the one that maybe I would have thought a lot of women really have difficulty coming to terms with, and all of that kind of stuff. And whereas the likes of Citizens Advice would give tremendous amounts of advice, it's what they're good at doing. This being a bit more bespoke, I would have thought must be quite more reassuring to women, I would have thought.
Yes, and I think they've often used Citizens Advice Bureau in collaboration with the information that they get from the Maternity Action Helpline, as it's called. There's a qualified solicitor on the end of that phone. It's manned every day during the weekdays, and women know that they can ring that number and speak to somebody who knows exactly what advice that they're needing to get. It's complex. Mental health is huge. Things like this add to women's stress and anxiety during pregnancy, and we really need to be enhancing and ensuring women are experiencing the best well-being they possibly can. And if they've got worries, concerns about work, it can impact negatively on their pregnancy experience, and their time on maternity leave is cut short because they have to go back to work because they're struggling for money. And I think if they've had that advice and they know where they stand when it comes to a lot of these issues, they feel a huge reduction in their stress, much less anxious, and much more confident that they can enjoy the time off with their babies. Is
the intention to kind of roll this out so it becomes a national initiative, as it were?
Certainly regionally it's being rolled out. So we piloted it on Wirral for 12 months, and that 12 months is gone now in the summer, and we're continuing to offer that service. But the LMNS in Cheshire and Mersey are rolling it out now across the region, so they're aiming to be able to offer it in sites right across Cheshire and Merseyside.
And I would imagine as well with something like this, whereas obviously the NHS have to fund this, but in the long term, it kind of, I would, to a certain degree, pay for itself in the sense that, because there's no messing about in terms of getting the information. This is probably a better thing, really, because where am I trying to go with this? Like people with, mental well-being over there, they would need to seek help for that, whereas this could potentially mitigate that, couldn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. So there is a cost, obviously, involved in the funding of this line, but hopefully it reduce the costs in other areas. So women who are having mental health crises and need input from that respect, it would reduce the need on those services. Women who are then claiming money in other areas, so benefits, things like that, they may not have to do that if they've had the right advice about work. So although there is a cost to the service, it will reduce costs in other areas.
And as I say, you can't put a price on the value of knowing a new parent having that stress taken away from them and being able to enjoy being a parent.
Yeah, and support for partners as well. So parental leave from fathers and same-sex partners who want time off work. They don't often know their rights as well, and they get given misinformation from employers. And again, they can be navigated through that advice with this line. And I think it just, as a family as a whole, it will really help. To sort of sort some of those anxieties and issues out.
I can tell by the way you speak about it that you're really, really excited and infused by this. Here's a question I've got to ask you. In the 20 years that you've been doing that, how many children do you reckon you've assisted into this world?
Oh, a countless. I think, you have to deliver 40 babies as a student midwife before you can even qualify. So, that is, we have numbers that we have to achieve, and 40 births, assisted at 40 births as a student midwife. And then, I spent a lot of the early years of my career working on the delivery suites in some of the local hospitals local to Liverpool. So hundreds and hundreds of babies in that time. More recently, in my role now as consultant midwife, I don't deliver babies on a daily basis, but patient facing and supporting women through their pregnancy with complex birth plans and requests for birth, supporting women to stop smoking in pregnancy. So I would have come into contact with thousands of families and helped deliver hundreds and hundreds of babies in those years.
That's incredible. So back to the health justice scheme. If people want to find out more information about that, how can they do it?
So it will be on the LMNS website, so the Improving Me website. They could always put into Google Wirral Maternity Action Helpline, and they'll be brought up to the dedicated website for that. It is accessible online. They can email and ask for support, or they can telephone the number that's on there. So into Google Wirral Maternity Action Helpline, and that's how they can access it.
And they'll find it. Brilliant stuff. Well, thank you so much for telling us all about it. Sounds like a wonderful, wonderful piece of work that you guys are doing. So long may that serve the needs of these people who need it. Brilliant stuff. Thank you very much indeed. And thank you very much indeed for watching. I'm sure you'll agree, once again, more information that you're getting to find out as a result of checking out the videos that we're doing here on the Improving Me social media pages. There are more of these to watch, so feel free to scan through and perhaps maybe find something that could be just really right up your street, something you're looking for. Thanks for watching.